What is the best Creed song? I know a lot of you have a lot of jokes right now you want to make in the comments after that question, but hear me out, okay? Last time I talked about what I thought the worst song from a great band was, being Old School Hollywood from System of a Down. You can check that video out in the description. I've now finally gotten the Old School Hollywood baseball chant out of my head until having to edit in this clip. With the resurgence of Creed over the past few years, and they still being considered more of a meme than a band despite the massive touring success, I wanted to ask everyone what the best Creed song was. When I put the question on the YouTube community page, most people gave the same joke of, they don't have one. But many more people gave legit responses. Even if I don't think Creed's track record is spotless like some nostalgia lovers think, I can agree that there do exist some good Creed songs. At one point, Creed had 7 singles all go to #1 on the Billboard Rock chart in a row. That's before rock radio really started hammering in the same bands in the 2000s. But in the case of a band that was hated for years, had a lot of dark moments, and a lot of people still laugh at, I admit I still laugh at Creed for specific reasons. There is one song that stands higher than the rest. It's Higher. I just said it. Higher is the best Creed song. It wasn't just a #1 song. This was a rock song that stood out in a sea of boy bands, Latin pop stars, you name it. That's a huge accomplishment in itself, let alone to have an album be spearheaded by a song like this and the album eventually go diamond. Not just multi-platinum, but diamond. A big reason for that was Higher. The song was released right at the end of summer of '99, leading up to the release of Human Clay. I, like many, associate Higher with spring and summer not because it was released at that time, but because it stayed in rotation in radio, getting eventually into top 40 stations the following spring and summer. First, let's talk about the lyrics, as the hooks are big. There are several of them, and they actually make sense. Wild how many big songs don't have that at all, including from Creed. Higher is a track about actual dreaming, lucid dreaming, as well as taking control of your own nightmares to turn them into something good. Scott Stapp and Mark Tremonti talked about that several times, and the process for writing Higher was made over time with several ideas. Higher was not written in 15 minutes either, which does kind of show because the lyrics match up with the uplifting tone of the song for the chorus and the big bridge. The lyrics are easy to understand, but they also feel somewhat unique, or at least in that time frame. In rock, nu metal was all anger and angst, which Creed also did in that post-grunge world, but a lot of post-grunge bands also focused on the sadness, but weren't as engaging as a song like Higher. A song about having a hunger when you're awake and trying to make something better in your dreams also comes through. Again, not super complicated, but it did feel like something refreshing in '99. Then we get to the music itself. Creed has been made fun of quite a bit over the years, including by me, but that has never been because of Mark Tremonti, and that includes on a song like this. A while back, I made fun of a song like One Last Breath because it wastes the talent of Tremonti. Higher, I feel it gets it right while still being a big radio rock song. The build-up, especially on the album version, which makes everything sound big. It also helps that Scott Stapp is less yarly. Rather, the yarling is not obnoxious or overdone. That matters in this post-grunge era, and with Higher, you can still sing along it without it feeling super forced. Also worth noting that the album version had a true opening and fade-out closing, making the original over 5 minutes, which would be criminal in today's age for just about any genre, but even the radio cut for Higher was long by radio standards, but that did not stop stations from spamming it. Some of the charting numbers for the song Higher are insane, and with minimal MTV help, if ever, as Creed was not the flashy MTV vibe. Creed was still pushed just fine on VH1 and having Higher play at major sporting events in the US, as well as getting on movie soundtracks. I also want to talk about the music video briefly because while it did get a ton of airplay on VH1 and Much Music, Creed hated it. I won't do an impression of Scott Stapp, but here's what Stapp said about it. "Sometimes I cringe when I see it. Like, what was I thinking? Look at those pants." I just wanted to point that out. I'm assuming this was one of the moments where Stapp was sober and cleaned up and able to look back at himself and go, "Oh, that's not good at all." While Creed has some material that has not aged well, Higher aged fine. So well, in fact, that it became the victory song for the Texas Rangers when they won their first World Series ever. Crazy to think that the Rangers, who have been around since 1972, didn't finally win a World Series until they embraced Creed. It's easier to hear the butt rock complaints when you're winning. There are songs with better guitar work or music behind it for sure on the Creed discography. The debut album, My Own Prison, had a lot of great material in that respect, but Higher was what made Creed a household name. Whether you like Creed back in the day or not, loving the music or hating it, Creed was talked about everywhere. Think of it this way. Say you met someone who has never heard a Creed song. What would you play them? If you weren't trying to troll or show them how bad a Creed song can be. If you wanted to show them Creed's biggest song, and that's something worth hearing, it'd be Higher. It was last year's reunion tour that Creed was selling out amphitheaters and then selling out a Creed cruise to the point they had to add another Creed cruise for summer of '99. That's when I think people softened up on the memes and wanted to sing along with the band again. Higher is infectious like that. Gonna be honest, being stuck on a boat with a bunch of Creed fans singing with arms wide open might make me go man overboard, but Higher? It's not so bad. Can you tell I'm really trying my best to be nice here in this series? I originally set out to find a band that wasn't always cherished. I was wondering what groups would really make me sweat, but when I posted this question on the YouTube community tab, there were a lot of solid answers. That means Creed has much more behind them than memes and controversy. Is Creed a top 100 band for me? No. But Creed also has one of the best-selling albums in American history with Human Clay, and Higher's a huge part of that. Even the leather pants didn't derail that success. Final point to really point out how Higher stands out as Creed's best. Think about that little guitar riff and flourish that Mark Tremonti does in the chorus. That little riff is iconic of that time period and got people who didn't even care about guitars to air guitar a little bit. Think about it. I'm willing to bet some of you watching this right now air guitared a little also. I do want to know if I made my explanation on this work as a defense of Creed having a good song. I know there are comedians that disagree and YouTubers that will make fun of Creed in other ways, but Higher, you could do much worse. That being said, let me know what you think of this series I've started in both the best and worst songs. Leave a comment if you have suggestions, but also leave a comment what you honestly think of Creed. Be careful though, because YouTube automatically flags anything that's too foul or brutal. Thank you for watching. You can check out the System of a Down's worst song video in the description. Finally, here's a dog. Ivan here, showing his love or disdain for candy corn as we get ready for the fall season. Ivan is a very good boy, but he does not realize how much of a mess he makes. Don't worry, puppy. Dad'll clean it up. Like always, you just keep being good.